What's up, guys? It's Jacob with the Degenerate Gambling Life, and today we have another great episode for you. Starting off, we're going to be looking at the top 14 quarterbacks in Dynasty Superflex formats. In Tier 1, I have Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. I don't think there's a lot to say here. These guys are clearly still the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks in Dynasty formats. Both have been elite over the last 5 years, and I think they can both continue to be elite over the next 5 to 10. In tier two, I have CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, and Caleb Williams. For me, I think Stroud is locked in at three. He's only 22 years old, and he just averaged over 18.5 fantasy points per game as a rookie, and his team got better. The sky really is the limit for CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans offense. At four, I have Lamar Jackson. He just turned in another MVP season, and with Lamar, you know he's always capable of being QB1 overall in any given season. I know some people are worried about his long term durability once his athleticism starts to go a little bit, but I think Jackson really made strides as a passer last season, and he should continue to do so in 2024. At five, I know it's going to be controversial to have Caleb Williams this high, but with Williams, you're getting a guy with locked in job security, crazy talent, and a world class supporting cast around him. I mean, he has DJ Moore, who's coming off a wide receiver six overall season at the wide receiver position last year. He's got Keenan Allen, who was wide receiver 8 in 2023. You've got a top 10 pick in Rome Odunze. And you've also got DeAndre Swift and Cole Kmet, who are world class security blankets for a rookie QB. It's really a dream situation for Williams, and I think he is a cornerstone player to invest in your dynasty startup leagues. In tier three, I have Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. Obviously, these guys are both phenomenal talents, and the consensus rankings would actually disagree with me here, with Hurts being QB4 and Burrow being QB6 on Sleeper. But with these guys, I do think there are concerns in the long term. With Hurts, it's definitely his durability going forward. Can he stay healthy after taking so many QB sneaks and design runs? Over time, I think that's going to wear out his body and his ability to run. And when that's the case, is he going to be able to stand alone as a passer and still have fantasy football value at the top five of his position? And I just think the answer is no. So I'm not as high on him as others. And with Burrow, I think there's a lot of long term injury questions. Obviously, he's a special talent, but he plays in a very tough division with very physical defenses. And for that reason, I have Burrow at 7 instead of higher. In tier four, I have Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Jaden Daniels, and Brock Purdy. At eight with Richardson, I think he's a phenomenal talent, and I'm expecting him to make a big jump in year two. They brought in AD Mitchell to give him more firepower on offense. And with Richardson, you also have huge rushing upside, especially in 4 point passing touchdown leagues. He's definitely a guy you can build around long term in Dynasty. At nine with Jordan Love, I see it the same way. He just turned in a top five season at the position in fantasy. He's young and could be even better in 2024. At 10, we go with Justin Herbert. We know he has all the tools to be a great quarterback. He's just been missing the coach that can get him there. I think if we temper expectations this season, over time, Harbaugh can get him back to being in that top five discussion at the QB position. At 11, I have Trevor Lawrence. I'm higher on Lawrence than most. He's an elite talent who's still only 24 years old. His team just got Brian Thomas Jr. in the draft, and the Jaguars have put a good team around Lawrence. If he's healthy, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback for a long time to come. At 12, I have Kyler Murray. Murray came back last season and tore it up. He played very good football. Now his team added the highest regarded wide receiver prospect since Calvin Johnson. I like Murray to be very good over the next 5 years or longer. At 13, I have Jaden Daniels. I think he's one of the most exciting quarterback prospects that I can remember. He has huge rushing upside and incredible accuracy on the deep ball. I think if you give him a few years, he will be competing for MVPs, and he's a very good investment in dynasty drafts. At 14, I have Brock Purdy, which may be a mistake having Purdy this low. He did just come off a QB6 finish last season. He has good job security with the 49ers. He's definitely a guy I'm targeting in a lot of my drafts as my QB2. I think you can get a lot of good value here in the bottom of tier 4 in dynasty drafts. And guys, if you made it this far, please remember to give us a like or comment or subscribe. It really helps the channel a lot.
All right, today Jacob and I are going to debate whether we think it's a good idea to take a quarterback in the first 5 rounds of your fantasy football draft this year. And we're talking specifically about redraft single QB leagues because that is the most popular version of fantasy football still. So I will be taking the pros and starting first. First off, you need an elite scoring player at every position if you want to be the best team in your league. Yes, you can win a championship without an elite quarterback or not without an elite anything specifically, but in general, you want to have a top 1, 2, or 3 or 4 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. You want to be elite across the board, and taking a quarterback in the first 5 rounds will give you a higher chance of having that elite quarterback. Right now, specifically the quarterbacks that are coming off the board in the first 5 rounds that I would classify as elite are Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, and Lamar Jackson. So one of those five specifically, I think those are the only five that are worth taking in the first 5 rounds. Secondly, you can avoid the pitfalls at running back and wide receiver and the landmines by taking an elite quarterback in the first 5 rounds. These quarterbacks almost always pan out for a top 5 season, top 10 at worst. You can think back to last year with Patrick Mahomes. He didn't really pan out, but every quarterback has 1 or 2 bad years in their career, and I think that was his last year. And I'm back on the Mahomes bandwagon this year. And finally, you want to have a quarterback that can score 25 plus every week. These 5 quarterbacks that you take early can all do that. And by securing one of them, you're elevating your weekly floor in fantasy football. Let's remember that the point of playing fantasy football is to win on a weekly basis. It's a week by week game. You're playing against one person head to head. And by having that higher scoring quarterback in your lineup every week, you're increasing your odds of winning your matchup weekly, which is how you make the playoffs, which is how you win your league. So don't be afraid to take one of those 5 quarterbacks in the first 5 rounds. I love trying to get any one of them around round 4 or 5. Josh Allen's probably going to cost you a 3rd-round pick, and so will Hurts. But Lamar, Mahomes, and Stroud you can usually get in round 4 or 5, and I would not hesitate at all.
Good points, Kevin. But the way I see it, it's really not worth drafting a quarterback in the top 5 rounds of redraft leagues. You can get so much good value later on in drafts. I mean, look at some of the guys that are going in that middle tier of quarterbacks. I think you could wait and get a guy like Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers who are going to have very good seasons this year. There's just so many good quarterbacks later on in the drafts that you have to be bulking up at wide receiver and running back in the first 5 rounds of redraft leagues.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like another hot take?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming.
Hi, it's Stacy with your DGL Update. Tom Brady now says that he regrets doing the Netflix roast because of how it negatively affected his children. I hope his kids didn't watch. There were some definite hilarious but cringy moments, and I would never let my children watch something like that. However, I find it interesting at the time, the only jokes he took issue with were the ones about Robert Kraft and the escort. So he might regret the roast, but does he regret the paycheck? Have a great day.
Jumping right into my first hot take. First, the Dallas Stars will win the Stanley Cup for the first time since 1999. The path they took to get to the conference finals has never been done before. They had to beat the last 2 Stanley Cup champions against the Golden Knights, who went to Game 7 and showed how tough the Golden Knights still were, even though they were beat up for a lot of the season. Then in the semifinals, they took on the Colorado Avalanche. And even though they didn't look great in that first game, the Stars did look pretty good throughout that series. Now, I think they're going to pretty easily win whoever wins the game tonight and make it to the Stanley Cup, where I predict the Dallas Stars will win the first cup again since 1999. Now, on to the NBA. I'm going to predict the Boston Celtics will win it all. And on top of that, it'll be against the Timberwolves. I know that's going to hurt a lot of my friends that are Mavs fans, and I do like the Mavs team. I just think that the Timberwolves are the better overall team, and I think the Timberwolves probably win in 5 games. Finally, let's get into a little bit of football. The Carolina Panthers, I'm going to predict now that they will still finish in last place. They're going to move on after this year and say bye to Bryce Young. It's happened to so many talented quarterbacks if you're just not in the right system. But I'm predicting that the Carolina Panthers will have the number 1 overall pick again next year. All right, Jordan, take it away with your hot takes.
Appreciate it, Josh. Hey, if you guys catch me a little stuffed up nasally or my eyes super red right now, that's because it's allergy season, so mind your own business. And if you want to hear another one of my hot takes that absolutely fell flat, well, the last 4 years, I've been thinking my allergies were getting better and then my allergies were on the way out, and then bam, I just got slapped in the face again this year. So just goes to show you, it don't matter if my hot takes are sports or my life. It is not working out. With that being said, my hot takes, my super early NFL predictions for this coming season is the Niners over the Ravens in the Super Bowl. That's what I got for you. Take it away, Jacob.
My hot take for the week is that the Minnesota Timberwolves will beat the Boston Celtics in the NBA championship. What a series between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets we just got to witness. Every time a series goes to Game 7, obviously it's going to be good, but I think this has to be one of the best series in NBA playoff history. What a great series for the sport. Anthony Edwards has definitely emerged as a superstar, and I think that confidence can carry this team all the way to the championship. They play phenomenal defense, and they are a very deep team. I like them to make a run, and I think they can give Boston a run for their money. I think on paper, Boston is the better team. They're the betting favorite currently, but I think that the young Timberwolves will keep the momentum going all the way to the championship.
My hot take of the week is that underdog best ball tournaments are overrated and DraftKings is where the easy money is at. I plan on doing about 150 to 200 best ball drafts this year, and I would expect at least 2/3 of those to be on DraftKings. I think with the 100-yard bonuses and for running backs and wide receivers, and the 300-yard bonuses for quarterbacks, I think it helps differentiate the good and bad players easier. And I think if you are a skilled player and you know what you're doing when you're drafting for best ball, it gives you a greater advantage than on underdog. And I really like those extra 2 rounds. They allow you to take a third quarterback or tight end, or to really hammer out the running back and wide receiver depth depending on how your team went. So my hot take is that underdog best ball is overrated. Try DraftKings.
This is a poker hand I played at 1-2 stakes at Shovel 512 in Austin, Texas. In this hand, the straddle was on and the under the gun, and two other players limped to me on the button, where I woke up with Jack 9 of clubs and raised to $35. The big blind, under the gun, and hijack all made the call, so we went four ways to a flop, which came 8 of clubs, 7 of clubs, and 3 of hearts. Action checked to me and I bet $70. The big blind, who was tilted, and the hijack made the call. The turn came the deuce of hearts, bringing in a second flush draw. Action checks to me again, and here I feel like I have one of the best semi bluffs that I will ever have. If I'm going to be jamming for value here with sets and overpairs, I need some logical bluffs. So I go all in for $170 effective, and both players make the call. The river comes the jack of spades, giving us top pair. We roll over our hand, and we are good. Both of the other players look dismayed, and we scoop this nearly $900 pot. This was a poker hand I played from the same session. The cutoff limped, and I raised on the button with Queen 8 offsuit. The small blind, big blind, and cutoff all called. The flop came great for us. It came 8-4-8 with 2 clubs. We flop a very disguised trips, and the small blind checks, and now the big blind does something interesting. He leads for 15. The cutoff folds to me, and here I could raise, but I think it's better to just call on the button, as I'll be able to control the pot in position. The small blind folds, and now we go to the turn, which comes the 7 of diamonds. The big blind continues betting here. He bets again for $55, and I think I'm definitely still good in this spot, and I briefly consider raising, but I decide to keep all of his bluffs in his range and just call again. Now the river comes the 9 of spades, and he uses a very weird sizing here. He bets for $40, and I think versus this sizing I only have one option, which is to go all in. So I go all in for 210, and the big blind tank folds and tells me I should work on my poker face.
All right, jumping into a poker hand, we're playing 1-2 at Windstar. Limps to me in the hijack, and we have ace queen of clubs. So we raise to 11. Two players call. Now the iron gun 3 bets to 40. I didn't think it's an old man coffee move. I just thought he was doing a squeeze play. And 3 players call. I call knowing the button will call. So we go to a flop. The flop is the ace of hearts, the queen of diamonds, and the 7 of diamonds. Iron gun now leads for 80, and it folds to me, and I flat. I put him on either ace king or ace jack, and I don't want to give away how strong my hand is at this point. The turn is the 6 of clubs. The iron gun now leads for 100. I decide it's time to go all in, so I put in my remaining 140 and they call. The river's a four diamonds, and I hate that the diamond flush comes in, but they show ace king offsuit with the ace of diamonds, and I win with my two pair. And I was glad that, I got a little bit lucky there and scooped that pot. All right, we're still playing 1-2 at Windstar. The earned gun plus two raises to $15. Two players call, and I'm on the button, and I look down at 9-8 of spades, and I call along with both blinds. So we go to the flop. The flop is the 9 of clubs, the 7 of spades, and the 6 of spades. It checks to earn gun plus two, who now bets 60 and folds to me. I see that's about 60 behind, so I go ahead and go all in, and it folds now to earn gun plus two, who quickly calls. The turn is a jack of hearts, and the river is the 3 of hearts. I've already tabled my hand once I was all in, and the earn gun plus two shows he faded my 20 outs, and his red aces held up. One of those cases of too many out syndrome. Do you guys think I could have played it any differently? I think right there I just have to put it all in and, just put them to max test, and I didn't hit the card I needed.
Welcome to Miller Time. I'm Kevin Miller with The Degenerate Gambling Life, and on today's episode, I am going to discuss my third wave of best ball stacks that I'm going to be targeting this year. If you look at last week's video or the week before, I did go through and list off some teams for early, mid, and late targets, and I'm going to go through and list a few more off today. First, Miami Dolphins are going early and often, and I would not shy away from them. We saw what their offense could do last year. They were the number one offense in the league for at least the first half of the season. And if you went Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, and Jalen Waddle in the first 3 rounds, and then grabbed Tua, around his ADP, maybe 1 round ahead, I think that's a great stack to target. I'm on Miami this year for sure. And if you don't like Achane, you still have Mostert going in the 7th round or Jalen Wright going in the 12th round. I think you could even take 2 of these running backs. We saw last year both Mostert and Achane were top 5 running backs halfway through the season. And I think 2 of their 3 running backs could do the same thing this year. It's just a matter of guessing correctly which one. Once you get out of the first few rounds, I think the Baltimore Ravens are an amazing early to mid stack. Definitely go after Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in rounds 3 and 4. Come back with Flowers or Andrews in round 5. It's going to be tough to get all 4 unless you really go rounds 2 through 5, but you could get all 4 if you go Henry, Lamar, Flowers, and Andrews in round 2 through 5. I think that's a really nice stack, and I think you're going to have high floor players at your positions every week. Now, if you get to the middle of your draft and you're looking for a stack, the Cincinnati Bengals are a great stack. Yes, Jamar Chase is a first-round pick, but after that, T. Higgins has fallen to the 5th round this year, and Burrow is going around round 7. These guys are usually going multiple rounds earlier. They just had a down year, and I think they're good value picks. Even their starting running back, Zach Moss, is going around pick 90 overall, which is right in the middle of round 8. And if Jermaine Burton could be a great late flyer, I think the Bengals offense will be back, and I'm looking to target them in the middle of my drafts. If you don't get these earlier middle stacks, don't worry. The Tennessee Titans are here to save the day. You have Will Levis with DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and you can pick which running back you like between Spears and Pollard. But if you can get Hopkins and Ridley and Levis, and then maybe I think Spears I like a little bit better, I think that's a very sneaky, underrated stack. The Titans are without Derrick Henry for the first time in about 8 years, and they're going to go from a run-first, defensive-oriented team to a high-flying passing offense, and you definitely want to have a piece of this. Look what Hopkins did last year, even with a rookie quarterback in bad play. Finally, if you missed all of these, the New England Patriots are a great spot to go at the end of your draft. Literally all of their players besides Ramondre Stevenson are completely free. Stevenson's going in round 7 or 8, but after that, you don't have anyone coming off the board until Demario Douglas or Javon Baker or Jalen Polk. Grab 2 of those receivers, pair them with Drake May, and even Hunter Henry makes for a great late round flyer at tight end. I think he could be consistent and a nice target for the rookie quarterback. These are my stacks. Let me know which ones you agree with, disagree with. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and as always, we'll see you next time. Miller Time out.
soccer hooligans.
Welcome back to another edition of the Added Minutes with your boy Jordan Tennis. We have a lot of the club seasons wrapping up. Well, I should say club leagues wrapping up, as we still have about another week, 2 weeks of actual tournaments to wrap up. However, we had 2 teams going into the final day of the Premier League trying to win that top spot. Man City was going for 4 straight, but could Arsenal pull off the miracle? Well, it didn't start good. They went down 1-0 very early, or I shouldn't say very early. They went down 1-0 in the first half to Everton, and it was looking gloomy, but they were able to equalize 3 minutes later before halftime, and they were kind of sluggish in the second half, not really much going for either team. Kai Havertz puts one in the 89th minute to put the pressure on Man City. Or was the pressure on Man City? No, it was not, because they, at the same time, were absolutely dominating West Ham. They went up in the second minute, 1-0, thanks to Phil Foden. Phil Foden added a second one in the 18th minute, 2-0. They were cruising. West Ham got one back before Rodri added a third goal in the 59th minute. Manchester City are your Premier League champions for the 4th time in a row. No team has ever done that, not even when Man United was dominating, Liverpool was dominating. Nobody's ever done it. Congratulations to Man City. Speaking of absolutely dominating teams, Bayer Leverkusen, like we have been talking about, they have gone undefeated in the Bundesliga, which is an insane feat. 0 losses. They beat Augsburg 2-1 over the weekend. They have 2 more games left. They have the final against Atalanta in the Europa League, and they have the DFB Pokal final, which is the German domestic tournament. They play that one against Kaiserslautern. And if they win both of those, they go undefeated in both of those competitions as well. We're talking about an undefeated treble here, which is an insane feat. So we'll see if they can do it. We'll check back in next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the Added Minutes.
Okay, time to dive into a little bit of fantasy baseball talk for you. And this week, we are going to focus in on pitchers, as there was a request for that in one of the comments. First up, we're going to discuss Reese Olson, Detroit Tigers. He's a starting pitcher. He's available in 50% of leagues. He's player 61 for the last month. And check this out. He's player 61 with 0 wins. All right, that's super impressive. He has 27 strikeouts, so he's giving you about strikeout per inning. His ERA is 1.16 and his whip is 0.74. So again, if he can get you any wins, my goodness, he'd probably be a top 30 player. Next, we're going to talk about Trevor McGill, Milwaukee Brewers. He's a relief pitcher that's available in 49% of leagues. He's acting right now as their closers. Again, Devin Williams should be back at some time, but this is the hot hand, I guess, currently for the Brewers. He's player number 84 for the last month. He has 0 wins, which he is a closer, but he gives you 6 saves, 9 Ks, which is about a strikeout per inning, a 1.13 ERA, and a 0.63 whip. Finally, Garrett Crockett on the Chicago White Sox. I know, we're talking about a White Sox player. He's a starting pitcher that's available in only 24% of leagues. He's player 66 for the last month, and here's the shocking part. He has 3 wins in the past month. He must have all the White Sox wins, Jordan. You tell me. You're the White Sox fan. Anyways, 3 wins, 36 strikeout. He's given you like 12 Ks per 9, a 2.77 ERA, and a 1 whip. So if he's available in your league, you probably want to hurry up and grab him before someone else does. So those are players that we got for you this week in fantasy baseball. I want to take a quick moment, thank all of you that have made it to the end. If you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and comment or share if you feel like it. Couple quick updates. This weekend, Memorial Day weekend, on Sunday, we're going to go and play and check out Poker House Dallas Peaks. No, not everyone loves that place, but they have kind of changed some ownership. So I want to go check out their new 1-2 game that they are rolling out there this weekend, see what it's like. So if you're up for it, Come out. We'll be there Sunday, probably around 1 o'clock, and we'll have some merch to give away. Next, we'll be in Vegas, June 6th through 10th, doing the World Series of Poker. We're going to have a meetup game June 8th at 1 p.m. at Mandalay Bay. Come out, hang out, hopefully win some cash and have a good time. Talk a little bit of fantasy with us. And then we're going to be teaming up with the Southern Poker Tour to have 2 meetup games while they're having their big tournament in Shreveport. We're going to have our meetup game on Friday night and then Saturday afternoon. All right. They're going to be running their tournament June 19th through the 23rd. So come up, say hi. It's going to be in Shreveport. So if you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, make that quick drive to Shreveport. Also, our website is now live. Check it out. Buy some merch. Let us know what you like. And we look forward to talking to all you guys next week.